Today I'm going to talk about how a narcissist manipulates us. Now, I'm not a psychologist, so I've done some study on this to make sure that I cover all the main points, and I even have some notes here just to make sure we do so. Now, I'm very interested in this because I hate being manipulated, and I discovered that I had been manipulated by a narcissist. Luckily, it wasn't in too bad a way for me, but I saw other people really badly manipulated by this narcissist. My spiritual teacher, Sogyal Rinpoche, it was. And I realised that there's a lot of narcissists in the world, and sometimes people just can't avoid them. So maybe your father's a narcissist, or your boss is a narcissist. Hopefully your partner's not a narcissist, but if they are, that's going to be a real problem, because narcissists are often abusive, and their abuse tends to get worse over the years. And Trump, as I've talked about before, is the most obvious narcissist, which is why I think it's kind of useful to be talking about narcissism at this particular point in time. And if we look at how he's manipulated people around him, when I go through these points, you'll also see that he has manipulated his followers by using these same methods. And when you can't escape a narcissist because of, as I say, he's your boss or something, or he's a member of your family, maybe you've got an uncle who is a narcissist, and at Christmas time, it's the same thing. If you know the kinds of things they do that manipulate you, it will help you to be able to avoid it. And you might also discover that some of these ways of manipulating are things that other people do, ordinary people do, like maybe you do it without meaning to. A lot of people do this kind of thing unconsciously. But what I'm going to give you today is like the narcissist toolbox. Okay. The first thing is attempting to shift the conversation by making it personal, by turning it into a personal attack. So if you do anything or say anything that threatens a narcissist's ego, if you disagree with them in some respect, they're likely to turn it around on you and say, well, you're delusional, you never get it, as usual. So then you feel like you have to defend yourself, and so it kind of railroads the discussion, just takes it somewhere else, because suddenly you feel you have to defend yourself, and the conversation is just sort of gone. They use glowing words and statements, to describe their ideas, their behaviours, without providing any evidence at all. So they might say, I have done more for black people in this country than any other president. Or, I am the best husband that you could ever possibly have. I'm better than anybody else. I'm going to build a wall that's bigger and better than anybody else's wall. The big lie. They spin a lie that's so outrageous that you don't even know where to begin cutting across that lie. The bigger the lie, right, the more it can overwhelm your critical thinking. And a narcissist believes that whatever they say in the moment is 100% true just because they say it. And boy, did we totally see that with Trump. Here's an example. A narcissist, when confronted with a credit card bill evidence of an extramarital affair, right, could say, I've never been to that hotel in my life. The hotel is notorious for making up fake check-in records and then blackmailing innocent people like me. There was even a big article about that online a while back. You probably saw it. It might even have an email from the hotel trying to blackmail me in my inbox right now. I will fight the slander all the way to the Supreme Court. They'll be sorry they ever made up this lie about me. Yeah. Okay. We can laugh, but these are methods of manipulation. And if you look at somebody in your life that you suspect is a narcissist, you'll see these kinds of things playing out. And as soon as you see them, it gives you a certain space from them, a certain ability to not be manipulated by them. So this is why it's important to know these things. Okay. Intentional vagueness. Okay, so you say something so vague as it's meaningless or open to interpretation. And Sogyal Rinpoche did this all the time. He'd say something really vague and he would expect his team to be able to work out exactly what he meant, okay? And then when they came back with something that, they thought it was what he meant, he'd just explode all over them, saying they got it wrong, they didn't listen, this kind of thing. But in actual fact, he was really vague. In other situations, it can leave the person feeling so confused about what they actually mean that, again, it stymies the conversation. So an example is a narcissist, when asked why he did something, might say, I did what had to be done. I always do what needs to be done. It's obvious. Then there's exaggerating. They stretch the truth to extremes to get somebody to do something for them, to eliminate doubt, or to coerce someone. So an example might be if you say to a narcissist that the relationship's a bit one-sided, they'll say something like, what? I do so much for you. I do more for you than any other people. That kind of thing. And they minimize as well. The opposite of exaggeration. They minimize or deny anything that doesn't fit with their propaganda, with their goals. And they frequently minimize the consequences of their actions. So an example would be a narcissistic parent's response to an adult child who wants to discuss the parent's past neglect or abuse. What are you talking about? You had a great childhood. Yes, I was strict, but all parents were in those days. You have nothing to complain about. Then there's using false equivalences. So this is a way to equate vastly different situations with each other to the narcissist's advantage. And they use this as a way basically to get out of taking any responsibility for the consequences of their actions. So one that's happening at the moment is this equating of the Black Lives Matter protests with the riot on Capitol Hill. Now, those are false equivalences. You can't equate them because one's a legitimate protest, the other one is not a legitimate protest. So what it does is it minimizes the damage done by storming the Capitol building. Here's another example from a family. It's a reaction from a narcissistic parent after raiding an adult child's bank account. Yes, I emptied your account, but don't forget you once stole $1 from your younger brother when you were 6. Another one's called a gish gallop. Okay, it's a rapid fire series of assertions, questions, and accusations aimed at someone so fast that you don't have a chance to respond at all. Narcissists just love the feeling of power that this gives them because it makes you look stupid because you can't answer all of these questions. So an example would be a narcissist's partner when criticized. How dare you question me? I've given you everything you have. Do you think you could have survived without my help? I've accomplished more in the last week than you have in a year. Who would you be without me? You think your friends would lift a finger if you really needed it? You're often so wrong you don't even realize it. I'm surprised you've managed to survive this long. So another method of manipulation often used by narcissists is called the lesser of two evils. And it's giving people two options, only two options, both undesirable, and asking them to choose one or the other. So, for instance, a narcissistic parent to an adult child. Yes, you were hit as a child when you misbehaved. Would you rather have been sexually abused? Count your blessings. Okay, so it's used to justify their control, their abuse, or other excesses. So it's the kind of thing that Sogyal would say. He would say, yes, I do growl at my people sometimes, but would you rather have someone who's really nice to you and you don't develop spiritually so fast? That kind of thing. Another method of manipulation is repetition ad nauseum. So you would just say the same thing over and over again with this idea that the more you say it, the more true it becomes, the more people hear it, the more that they're likely to believe it. They will be completely shut off to any option They just railroad over you. So an example of this, of course, is Trump just continually saying the election is stolen, the election is stolen. I won the election, Biden didn't win. Just over and over and over. He just kept on saying it, and people believed him. And then other people in the Republican Party started to say it, and it just got worse and worse and worse. And, you know, this is the incredible danger of voting in a narcissist. Scapegoating is another method that they use, and that is just blaming somebody else for a problem, and it's a way that a narcissist covers up their own culpability in something. It's a favourite method because it does many things at once. So it makes other people feel inferior, it gets other people to go along, it gets them the feeling of power for orchestrating a group action, and it hides or distracts from anything that would make the narcissist look bad, and particularly evading responsibility for creating the problem. So a good example in terms of Trump was for the storming of the Capitol. They're blaming Black Lives Matter protesters and Antifa, suggesting that they were there en masse and that it wasn't Trump supporters that did it, but it was these other people. Then that's scapegoating. There isn't any evidence to indicate that this is the case. So this is scapegoating, making it somebody else's fault. The last one I've got listed here is you too. So it's asserting that anything that you say the narcissist has done, that you have done it too. Okay, so you see this when Trump is accused of something, and he'll go, "Well, the Democrats did it as well." Okay, so it's just, again, it's a way to deflect from the actual main point, which is what they have done. Okay, not what you've done. So by suggesting that you're as guilty as they are, it's just a way of twisting the conversation and detracting from the main point, which is their behaviour. Okay, a narcissist is all about propaganda, particularly when they're a president or somebody in power. So the bottom line is that propaganda relies on distortion, and if you can spot how narcissists distort facts, language, feelings, and ideas to coerce, diminish, and take advantage of others, you can gain a distance that makes it easier to set healthy boundaries between you and a destructive narcissist. Go through the points so that you can recognize when you're being manipulated like this, and then you can take a step back and go, this is not about me. It's about you. Because that's what they'll do. They'll always try to deflect the blame onto you, onto someone else. Okay, and if you want to actually sort of not fall into those traps, okay, you need to be able to see what that person is doing and keep your focus on the main point. So I hope you don't have a narcissist in your life, but if you do, good luck with it. In my next video, I'm going to talk about how you can avoid being manipulated by a narcissist. Catch you next time. Bye.